Thank you. Good afternoon. I think some of you are taking your lunch break to be here, or we don't do lunch breaks at the Indaba. Hey, but thank you for taking some time out to come and have a look at some of the practical realities of the digital world. A lot of the sessions over these 2 days have been talking about the fact that we are facing digital disruption, giving us ideas and case studies and examples of the disruption we're facing, telling us the causes of the disruption. But what do we do about it? And what are some of the practical realities when we think about our customers and our staff if we are living in a digitally disrupted time? The answer to that question might be a little bit easier if you are in fact a digital disrupted or disruptor yourself. But what if you're not? What if you're one of the traditional companies? What if you work in a more traditional environment? What if you are an accountant? Okay, I'm in the right place. Okay, excellent. So are you. So we've got some answers to that question of what is it about. But maybe let me give a little bit of context. Because this is not the first time that humanity has gone through deep structural change in the way that the world works. And students of the future actually end up being students of history, because we want to see what has happened before and how people have done things. Sadly, when you study history, you discover that we almost never learn anything from history, because it keeps repeating itself. But hopefully this time it's slightly different. By the way, just the most recent, just last night, somebody gave us, and I thought I need to share this with you guys. You know, South Africa's in a tough spot at the moment, but we keep forgetting as South Africans that we're always in a tough spot. And we always get through it. And there was a wonderful quote somebody reminded me of last night. Winston Churchill said this about the Americans, but I think this applies to us here in South Africa. Winston Churchill said, "They always do the right thing after they've done everything else." Doesn't that just feel like South Africa sometimes? We'll be fine, okay? Everybody's going to graduate who deserves to graduate this year. We'll get on, and your kids who are in matric, they'll get into varsity next year. We'll all be okay again. We'll rebuild the burnt buildings. But geez, just sometimes it would be nice if it was easy. And we didn't do it the hard way. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I just thought I'd tell you that when you study history, you learn that there are patterns, that there are echoes. History never repeats itself, but it does rhyme. And if we look at these patterns, we get some sense of maybe where we find ourselves and what we can do. So let me go back to one of the most powerful financial institutions and one of the most legendary families in financial history, the Medicis. For 300 years, this Italian family dominated global financing. About halfway through that period, they founded a bank, the Bank of Medici, founded first in Florence and then opening up branches across Italy, and essentially Venice becoming the main hub of it. But they spread very quickly over the whole of Europe. And by the late 1400s, the late 15th century, they were a dominant player in the world. In fact, 1397, the founding of the bank, by 1430, they had got the banking of the emperor and pope, and the kind of were the bankers of everybody of note. Their banking concept was built on a concept called the Bill of Exchange. Bill of Exchange allowed people who were going to go and get goods from the other side of the world, spices and gold and all sorts of things that the people of Europe wanted. We enabled those people to pretty much, I'm using our language today, not theirs, but to pretty much pre-sell those goods in order to finance the expeditions and sell them to the people who would eventually get them and buy them. And the Medicis offered the surety to both parties and took a nice sizable chunk of the transaction in between. But things were about to change. Things were about to change dramatically, because the center of attention had been Venice, but now it was going to shift to a small little port on the far edge of the empire that nobody had taken any attention of before, a little fishing village. And in Antwerp, in Belgium, few guys got together and had a different idea. They said, what happens if the bill of exchange doesn't have to be between the two parties involved, that anybody who was interested in financing an expedition could do so, and anybody who was interested in guaranteeing the products returning could do so whether they used them or not. We understand the concept today. It's called a stock exchange. And these are called shares or stocks. But that concept didn't exist at the time. And in 1531, they opened this building in Antwerp and called it, named it after one of the family names involved, a bourse, a word we still use every now and again when we're trying to say that we're quite clever. In 1571, the Royal Exchange opened in London. By that point, the Medici Bank had already closed, gone bankrupt. In the course of financial history, in the blinking of an eye and a heartbeat, the world's largest financial institution was destroyed. Now, this wasn't the only reason. There were a few other things that went wrong. But what was happening was that the world was on the verge of a renaissance. A renaissance is a big word that we use to cover a whole lot of different things that happened over that period of time in the 1400s and early 1500s. It was about a revolution in every part of society. Politics changed, economics changed, technology changed, society changed, even religion changed as it led directly to the Reformation. Every part of society shifted. And historians are increasingly identifying that the same factors that were involved in the world at the dawning of the Renaissance are in evidence in our world today. So, if the Medicis didn't notice that there was a new form of capital raising, there were new financial products for investors and entrepreneurs alike, well, we live in that same world, don't we? With the world of Kickstarter and crowdfunding and the likes of Zopa, bringing willing buyers, willing sellers of money together. We talk about blockchain technologies and bitcoins and cryptocurrencies. And it's very easy for the financial institutions of the world today to say, no, but that's on the edges of the empire. You know, that's just somebody playing around with little things and it's probably not going to work. I wonder what the Medicis would have made of PayPal. This has only just begun. 500 years ago, trade was the big news, the opening up of the world. That kind of has been the news over the last 30 years, hasn't it? As we've been more globalized now than we've ever been in our history. 500 years ago, the big news was massive new transportation devices. These huge ships, built mainly by the Dutch first and then copied by others, that allowed more cargo, more stuff to be transported faster, quicker, safer all around the world. Today, it's possibly a little bit of a stretch in my analogy, but I think that driverless trucks and driverless ships and drones are this for us today. This is not a concept. This exists. Otto. They were actually bought a few weeks ago by Uber for $690 million, as they have literally worked out how to do this. And I'm sure that you know that driverless cars have now gone legal. 3 weeks ago in Singapore, you now can get a driverless taxi from Changi Airport down to downtown harbour. And just yesterday, they went legal in the United Kingdom, in Milton Keynes. Although any of you know England, I lived in London for 5 years, and the health and safety stuff just does your head in as a South African in the UK. The driverless cars in Milton Keynes are only allowed to go at 5 miles an hour. So kind of, you know, what's the point, really? 500 years ago, probably if you're talking about the Renaissance, the iconic technology was the printing press. This is the one that almost everybody says that was the one. The other things contributed, but it was when we were able to get more information to more people, cheaper and faster, that everything changed. More information to more people, cheaper and faster. Does that ring any bells? Just a few, right? We live at a remarkable moment in history where we, as individuals, have access to more information than anybody has ever had access to before. And As Didi said in her introduction, it's in the palm of our hands, in these supercomputers that are literally less than an arm's length away from us at all times. So I don't think it's any stretch of statement. I don't think this is an overstatement. I don't think this is a hyperbole for effect. I don't think this is a consulting cliche that we live at the beginning, the dawn of a new renaissance. If we know what happened in the last renaissance, we'll know that this is remarkable. There is chaos. This doesn't mean it's all easy. There was political changes of dynasties. There was major winners and losers as well as winners. And we face massive disruption. People are seeing this all the time. I think one of the best-selling books of last year was written by 3 McKinsey consultants, and I think it's a really good book to read, by the way, called No Ordinary Disruption, in which they highlight, in their case, looking specifically at 4 key forces, urbanization, or the move into sort of industrial mindsets, especially by emerging economies, disruptive technologies, the fact that we are living longer. You know, most of you are going to live way longer than you thought you would. Almost everyone in this room is easily going to make their 80th birthdays, and many of you are going to make your 100th birthdays. And that's going to change our world remarkably. And then finally, the connectedness that we have. If you were here in the previous session, Martijn talked about the networking effect and how that is such a driver of change. So, this new renaissance, what does it mean for us? Well, it means that the rules for success and failure are changing. The rules are the way you do business, how things work around here, the way it's supposed to be done. These are the things you benchmark against all your competitors, just to make sure that none of you get too far ahead of the other person. These are the things that might not even be written down in your business, but everybody knows that that's the way it's done around here. In some of your businesses, you've even codified it. You have the Deloitte way. I saw a few Deloitte people sneaking in here. So, and there's the way of doing it. Now, what happens if those rules are about to change? What happens if I'm right, that we are living at the dawning of a new renaissance? What happens if you're like the Medicis? You've built this fantabulous organization that's got these remarkable things that you do, and you're all feeling really great about yourself. But you're the Medicis. And it's 1531. And there's a little crowd of people on the edge of the empire opening up a little building. And you haven't noticed yet. So what we did as a team is we thought that we would go and have a look at some of the companies that are on the edge of the empire. Now, these things are not small companies anymore, but we looked at companies that are showing early signs of success in this new digital age, because I think that that's clear, that that's what it is. It's a digitalization of our world in this new digital era. Now, except for the guys across the top, or in fact, Apple and Samsung are the only companies there that are older than 10 years. Okay? The rest of those listed there are 10 years old or younger. Now, isn't that, first of all, remarkable? That these are global brands, household names, recognized by almost everybody in this room, have some of the greatest market capitalizations of any companies of all times, and they're not even a teenager yet. So that there must be something there, right? And what we wanted to do was to look at their DNA. So we didn't want to give you the same blah, blah that you get at all of these conferences now about the Uberization of your industry and Airbnb don't own any hotels, but yeah, you've seen those slides, right? Okay, so but let's go beyond that. Let's ask the question, yes, we know these companies are disruptors. Yeah, tell me something else. Is there something that they have tapped into? Some DNA that they've found that we can use. So we might never be like them. We might not be able to convert our bank or our Big Four accounting company into a digital disruptor. But maybe we can take some of the mojo, some of the essence that's made these guys as successful as they are and incorporate it into our business. Now, there's some obvious ones. The first is almost all of these guys use this device. not necessarily an Apple, but they use a mobile. So everything they do is run through here, not as an afterthought. Not get your website right and then hopefully it's accessible via the mobile. They're mobile first. So that's obvious. It's also obvious that they are disruptors, that they don't follow the rules of the industry. So I know this is a really, really tough call for accountants, but you should be more disruptive. Okay? You shouldn't be the voice of reason in the business. You should be disruptors if you're going to do something interesting with your career. But I thought maybe that's pushing the boat out too far for a group of accountants. So let me come back to our research, because we found 8 things. And I just want to share this with you very briefly. We're not going to go into too much detail. You can have a look at our website for more information. But we think these 8 things are things that you can copy no matter who you are. Whether if you're selling cars or you're a university trying to deal with a crisis, if you're a government, a municipality, if you're a bank, if you're a software developer, whatever it is, I think these 8 things apply. And this, in our mind, is part of the essence of the digital era. Why? Because the companies that we listed there are not just selling us products and services. They are changing our expectations of how the world works. And we bring those expectations not just to our interactions with them, we bring those updated expectations to our interaction with the entire world. Let me show you what I mean. So let's just pick a few of these to talk about in a little bit more detail. So personalization is the first one. Personalization. Every person in the world has a phone now. Yeah, every adult in the planet. In fact, there's 7.5 billion people in the world. There are 8.5 billion active phones in the world. Every single phone in the world is different. There is not one phone on this planet that is set up in the same way that this one is. It is entirely and utterly personalized for me. In fact, I had a phone stolen a few weeks ago, and it's useless to the person who got it, because being in the Apple ecosystem, you just go online, switch the phone off. Okay? And you could see exactly where they were on the map, told the police about it, sent them a little message on the phone. They switched the phone off very quickly. When they switched it on the next time, it just bricked the phone. They now have a very expensive paperweight. I am the only human being in the world who will ever use this phone. And it is set up entirely for me. That now becomes my expectation of every interaction I have with every company in this room. If I can personalize my phone, why can't I personalize my interaction with you? Why am I in any way getting a one-size-fits-all experience? And some of you, in especially this world, make life even harder. I banked with a particular bank for 25 years. I started banking with them because they were the only guys who were prepared to give me a student loan. Nedbank weren't interested in my business when I was 19 because I wasn't rich yet. They've sorted themselves out. That was a long time ago. Now they realize that some people get rich and you can actually bank them before they are. So, but anyway, it was too late. I needed a student loan. Nedbank weren't there for me. ABSA didn't exist when I was a student, so it's not them either. And so we're kind of limiting ourselves. It's Standard Bank. So I was a very loyal customer. Everything was there. My home loan, my cars, everything else. And then I needed a business loan. And I went to them and I asked them for a business loan. And they gave me a form to fill out. I remember I'd been a customer for 25 years. I had all my products with them. And they gave me a form, and the first box on the form was, "What is your name?" Are you kidding me? What is your name? Anyway, I suppose, okay, if they can't pre-populate this for me, I'll do it myself, so I put in all the stuff. First block's biographical. Second block of information. Who do you bank with? Are you kidding me? Anyway, it's you guys, it's fine. How long have you banked with us? And then they want month and year. Anyway, I went through the process and eventually they approved it all, so everything was fine. I mean, they can do it. But now, to be fair to them, everybody does that. So this is my experience with Standard Bank. I'm not picking on them because everybody else does it. I had to, as I did shift my accounts to FNB, I had to sign more documents to get an FNB account opened than I had to get married and buy a house. And all I was doing was shifting a current account. You make it ridiculously difficult to do business with you if you are in the financial space. And I could pick any one of the businesses represented at this Indaba, because I don't know of any financial institution in this country that makes it easy. And some of you will come and tell me afterwards that you do, and you are lying. Because it is not easy enough. Because it's not just about ease of use, that is one of the issues, I'll talk about that in a second, but it's about personalization. It's about knowing me. Not just responding to me or connecting to me, it's about knowing me. Now we know that personalization works, because probably the most powerful marketing campaign of the last 10 years, at least if you look at the numbers and look at return on investment for marketing spend, the most powerful marketing campaign of the last 10 years is entirely based on this concept. Okay? So I want to give you examples that are not digital companies, because this is not about digital. I'm talking about what lessons we can learn from the digital companies, but you need to see that the application is not only in the digital space. Coca-Cola, actually, they impressed themselves with this campaign because they never knew how. Some of you have never drunk Coke. You will never drink Coke, but you have a bottle and a can of Coke at home, probably on a shelf displayed, because it has your name on it. Am I right? I'm seeing some of you. That's me. I wonder if Adam was the first name off of the production line. You know? Maybe Eve was second. That would be cool if that's the... I don't know. I don't know. What happens when we personalize, right? We empower people. When you recognize somebody and you greet them by name, can you see the difference in their face and their eyes? If people think you've made an effort just for them, do you feel the response? If people think you made an effort just for them and then they discover that you didn't, it's even worse. Better that you hadn't done anything. Do you know what I'm saying? By the way, this is what I think big data is for. Geez, you go to any one of these rooms, you're going to hear the word big data as well. I think it's a legal contract for speakers to talk about big data. What is big data for if it isn't about personalization? Big data, taking everything we know about every person in the world so that we can learn about you. So that we don't put you into a market segmentation analysis that makes you one of 16 different things. Or even 32 or even 64. You are 1 in 7.5 billion. And I have got the ability now in this digital world that we live in to narrow it down to you. And then to deliver not just in response to your queries, but predictively before you even ask. I can deliver something of value to you. If you are not doing that with big data, you are just wasting your time and money. That is the sole purpose of big data, personalization. So, in what ways can you increase personalization? That's a strategy question for the board of your company, but it's also a question for you and your team in your department. Because you can personalize the way, as a manager of your team, you can personalize the way you treat your staff members. By the way, it's a parenting question. How do you personalize your parenting for the different children you've got? You know how to do this. That's why most of you are good parents. Because you understand the concept. You understand that people are different. You've got to treat your kids differently. So why are we not doing this enough in our businesses? because we still have an old industrial era mindset of efficiencies of scale, of processes and systems that spit out the same thing at the end, and not realizing that personalization is everything. Does this make sense? So obviously then we could talk about automation, because in order to do personalization, you're probably going to have to use a lot of machine help. We can't do this at scale. We can't do what I've just said using humans. It's just too expensive to do it. So we are going to have to move quickly to artificial intelligence and machine learning. And these digital companies that I'm talking about are moving there in dramatically fast ways. In August this year, I was away on holiday in Europe with my family. I logged into Facebook one morning, and it asked me for my password. That's strange, okay? They must have done a bit of a reset overnight. Typed my password in, and it said, error, account does not exist. Okay, what? So I quickly checked my emails, and I'd got a note from them the previous night before saying, somebody has queried your identity, and we have shut down your account until you can prove your identity. What had happened was my account had been cloned. It happens fairly regularly, actually. I have no idea why. I've been married to one person for 25 years. We went to each other's matric dances. It's not like I've ever played the field. But somebody obviously recognizes or thinks that my face is some kind of babe magnet somewhere, and they keep using it. No, it's actually quite serious. They keep using it on different profiles. And every now and again, someone would spot it and send and say, I think this guy's using your photograph, and I would make a note and send it to Facebook. And Facebook are quite good. You can submit a query and they check it out and cancel the other accounts. But now one of these guys had fought back. And he had told them that I was the guy who was faking. So they shut my account down until I could prove it. It took me 12 days to prove it because this other guy was fighting back. Every form of ID I presented, he presented his version, a fake one. Eventually, it got down to like photographs of me with today's newspaper and my passport. It felt like I was in a hostage situation, you know? Just give me my Facebook page back. Eventually, they agreed that I was me and this other guy was the faker. They destroyed his account. And now, I get emails from Facebook saying, a new Facebook profile has been made and we think they're using your photograph. Is this you? Approve or disapprove. They have, in the last 6 weeks, updated their automated software to track my profile in their system. That's how fast they switch on this AI and learn. In fact, Facebook have an AI machine that teaches the other Facebook machines how to improve the various things that Facebook does. Genuinely, the head of AI at Facebook is a computer. We are living at a moment in history where computing power is exploding. And what we are going to see in the next 10 to 15 years is that we are going to partner with the machine. I don't think the machines are going to take all of our jobs. But we are going to have to partner a lot more with the machines. If we're going to deliver that personalization, we're going to have to use machines a lot more intelligently. And when you partner with machines, you can do things that people can't do. You can do things at speed. You can get a level of efficiency and accuracy that is unlike anything else that humans can do. And you can do things we haven't done before. So just this concept of simplifying. A few weeks ago, I was in Zurich, and a friend of mine who lives in Iran, spotted me on Facebook. He was in Zurich too for business. Yeah, excellent. Graeme, let's get together. He popped me a note. I said, excellent. Let's meet down at the harbour. It's a nice little restaurant I normally go to, and I'm there. And I went and waited for him at the correct time. 45 minutes later, he's still not there. Now, kind of Iran time's even worse than African time, so I wasn't too worried. But he was normally never late personally. I was just about to give up on him when he kind of walked into the restaurant, obviously flustered. He had got into the tram system. Zurich is a very, very expensive city, and he didn't want to use the taxis. And so he got in the tram system, and he got lost on the tram system, ultimately making his way down to me. But he was a little bit, frazzled. So after dinner, he said, look, how am I going to get back to my hotel? I'm definitely not going to go back the way, and I'm not going to use a taxi. I said, well, why don't you just use Uber? he said, well, obviously know what Uber is, but we don't have Uber in Tehran, so, how do we do it? So sitting in the restaurant, we downloaded the app, opened it up, created an account for him. The account asked to connect to his Facebook status to verify his identity. Because, by the way, that's a much better verification of your identity than documents. I know this now very clearly. He then, it asked him to take a photograph of his credit card, which it then sucked all the details in, did a quick verification, which took less than 30 seconds, and then he ordered an Uber taxi. Now, how long do you think it took from the time I said to him, why don't you try Uber, to the time he was sitting in an Uber taxi? Do you want to take a guess at the time? 7 minutes. 7 minutes from not having been a customer to experiencing the product. 7 minutes. How good are you at that? One of our other clients in the UK loves to say this, I like this quote a lot, that what we need to develop now is personal touch for the clients who want it, but great systems for the clients who don't. And then, by the way, you can say that the other way around as well. We need really great systems for the clients who want it, and the personal touch for the clients who don't. It's not either or, it's both and. But more and more it's going to be about automation. It's going to be about taking the power of computing and not sitting there and saying, yeah, computers can't do my job. My job's very complicated. Yeah. Look, I know we could probably replace the tellers at the front, but I'm in credit asset swaps, and that's really complex. There is not one person in this room who has a job that is too complex to describe and explain. It's called an algorithm. Algorithm is just a word that computer technology experts use when they don't want to explain themselves. But what it really means is that if you can describe the decision tree, if you can describe the steps required to make a decision, I can program it, and then I don't need you. So let me put that into English. If you can train somebody else to do your job, then a computer can do it too. And there's not one person in this room who couldn't train another person to do your job. I know some people, you think that, so that's why you haven't taken a holiday or a sick day in 5 years, because you'll know they'll find you out, but you still know it's true. So we need personalization, automation. We need ease of use. We need to put mobile first, not as an afterthought. We need to make sure that we are using the concepts of social. Not social media here, okay? Just the concepts of social. Let me explain the difference by giving you an example here. TripAdvisor, okay? TripAdvisor is not social media. We're not using TripAdvisor to find our friends and to have conversations, but it is getting the power of social, right? The power of other people's opinions that are gathered together so we can make a decision. Now, how many of you have used TripAdvisor? Okay, why use TripAdvisor? I mean, you know that a lot of people in the TripAdvisor system are idiots. I mean, this is a little video clip I put together of some of my favorite worst TripAdvisor reviews of the best places in the world. I mean, look at this, yeah? Most overrated builder, Colosseum. Are you kidding me? This guy wants holographic 3D gladiators. That'll make it worthwhile. And this is probably my best. This monument is in a poor state of repair. Seriously, who are these idiots? And now you're listening to their opinions? Are you kidding me? But the point is, you know that you discount those idiots. They're obviously idiots. You laugh at them. You say, I don't care about your one-star review. That doesn't change. Yeah, exactly. That doesn't change my opinion, right? Why don't we go to the hotel's website itself? Because we know the hotel will tell us they're brilliant. We know that to be true. So we need third party. But if I go to your website, you are telling me how brilliant you are. Where's the third party stuff on your website? This is what social media is for. People go to social media not to connect with you, they go to complain about you. And you're not there. And you're not engaging in that conversation. So it's not about social media, although social media is a platform. It's about the power of social, the power of third-party verification, the power of networking. Are you using this power? Or are you still a financial institution that very much protects everything? We're not going to tell anybody else who our customers are, or tell them everything else we're doing. We keep everything. This is not the world we live in anymore. We live in a world that's filled with gamification. That's using the principles and psychology of computer games, bringing them into the workplace, like Discovery do with your Vitality Fitness. Those of you who've got to earn all of those points. And they really messed me up last year because I had discovered that, you can put the Fitbit on the dog and run it around. Then they told me, seriously, if you are running that fast for that long, your heart's going to explode. So then somebody told me much better to put the Fitbit in a Ziploc bag and attach it to the creepy crawly, because the whole day that's a much better pace. Now the bastards are asking me to do heart rate measurements. So anyway, I'm joking. I never did any of those things. We also know that we have to disintermediate. This isn't news. But let me end, for those of you who were in my session yesterday, let me end with actually the same point I ended with yesterday, because I do think this is the most important. You see, when I switch on my phone, every time I switch on my phone, there in the top left-hand corner, pride of place, most important app, is the App Store. One app to rule them all. But that's, every time I switch on, there's a little red circle in the top corner with a number in it. That's how many apps need updating now. And there isn't a 12-hour period of my life that goes by without having an app update. Now, some of you don't like the updates because they sometimes break a feature you like or even remove it. But I love updates. I love the fact that there is a team of people sitting somewhere in the world whose sole purpose is to make this app better for me. And every single day, they are sending me updates. How often do you send updates through your system? Do you have a culture of innovation in your business? I know you have a strategy for innovation. I saw it right there in your shareholders report last year. But do you know what a culture of innovation looks like to make that happen? That requires a culture of experimentation. It requires a culture which says, as Elon Musk does, failure is an option around here. In fact, I'll go further. Failure is a requirement. You can't have innovation if you're not experimenting, and if you're experimenting with no failures, well, I don't know what you think you're doing, but it's not experimentation, is it? One of my favorite sportsmen in the world is this guy, probably the greatest sportsman of all time if you look at stats and everything else. And this, he says, is one of the best adverts ever made of his career.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
What do you think you need to do to bring this mindset of constant upgrading and experimentation into your business? So I don't know if that's helpful or not. I hope it is. We think we've found something here. We think that there's value here. I hope that you take this thought back to your team and use it. Our list is just a starting point. Add to it. I think when you get what we've seen here, you'll understand this is a language you can speak. You don't have to be Uber to Uberize your business. You just have to switch the digital mindset on, and we think that this is what it is. By the way, just as a quick thought for the financial product people in the room, I'm not talking about finding a new product or channel here, because that's what most finance-type people look for. Where's the new product? Where's the new service? Where's the new channel? I'm talking about innovation that goes to the heart of your business model, that changes you at a DNA level. This is not just about adding another product or tweaking a channel. This is about revolutionizing your business model. Not many companies have got this right, but if you want to be successful, if you want to succeed in this digital world, if you don't want to go down the same route as the Medicis did, when a new era was dawning, they just ignored what was happening at the edges of the empire, and then it destroyed them. Well, then I think you need to switch your mind on to this digital world. So, if you would like a little bit more information about that, you are welcome to have a look at my website, either my personal website, grahamcodrington.com, or our company website, tomorrowtodayglobal.com. I have 2 books to give away here, which are books our team has written on leading in a changing world, which looks at the leadership impact. So I thought, has anybody got a birthday today? Okay. Like, seriously, you would have to be you'd actually have to be an actuary to come to Indaba on your birthday. Even accountants know how to not do that. What about yesterday or tomorrow?
In December.
No, I'm just going to trust you completely. You guys, we've got enough auditors around here that you'll be scared if you make it wrong. So, last one, Sunday, birthday on Sunday. There we go. Okay, now. Sunday's fine. There we go. Enjoy it. Now, for those of you who feel a little bit shortchanged because your birthday was in February, our sponsors, Future Sense, the guys who hosted the session, and thanks to your team, Simon, for doing that. They've got a few extra copies of that book, which they will be happy to exchange for a little conversation about Future Sense. So complete bribery and total corruption, but that's how this game works. Their stand is just towards the door on the far side, and you'll find them easily. And thanks again for hosting the session. And thank you for coming. I'll stick around for a little bit if you want questions, but we have to clear the room for the next guys. Thank you.